Hey there, welcome back. In today's lesson, we're going to be looking at how to write our body paragraphs for IELTS essays. Now, first of all, we're going to look at how we structure each body paragraph. Now, ideally, each of your body paragraphs will have three things. They'll start with a topic sentence. Now, this is a short sentence which introduces the idea or ideas that you write about in that paragraph. So the idea is the examiner should be able to read your topic sentence and immediately know how many ideas you're going to write about in that paragraph and what they are. Okay, after the topic sentence you have the development, and in the development you go into more detail about your idea, and ideally you also include examples to support your idea. Finally, you have the link, and the link is a sentence which refers back to the topic sentence at the beginning of your paragraph and almost summarizes the idea. Now, it's not essential to have a link, and by writing one you might be sounding a bit too repetitive. So sometimes you will have a link, other times you won't. However, a topic sentence and development is certainly a good idea. The link, well, sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. Let's have a look at an example. Imagine you're doing the IELTS exam and you get this question. Teenagers should have regular exams at secondary school as this will prepare them better for life after leaving school. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Okay, so should teenagers have regular exams at secondary school? I think they should. And one of the reasons why I think they should is that if you have regular exams in high school, you're going to be more prepared for the exams that you have after high school. So for example, when you go into university or start college. So we're going to communicate that in our topic sentence. Having frequent exams at high school ensures that teenagers have had ample examination practice before continuing to higher levels of education. So the topic sentence introduces our idea. Next we have the development, and here we go in a bit more detail about our idea. In further education, it is almost certain that students will be tested in one way or another. This may be practical. For example, a vocational course will require students to pass practical exams. Or academic. University students are evaluated on coursework type tests, formal end-of-year exams, or a combination of both. Okay, so in the development I've given an example to support my idea. Finally, I have a link which summarizes my idea. Hence, exams at secondary school provide a foundation of experience which prepares teenagers for the tests they will encounter in further education. Okay, so you'll notice the topic sentence is one sentence long, and that's just because I have one idea in this paragraph. The development is slightly longer. It's usually between 1 and 3 sentences, and ideally contains an example as well. Finally, the link is just going to be one sentence, and as I mentioned earlier, you might choose not to write a link if it just sounds a bit too repetitive. Okay, let's have a look at another paragraph. Okay, another reason why I agree with teenagers having regular exams is that if teenagers have regular exams, they're going to learn a lot of valuable skills that can help them when they start working. Let's say that. Regular exams also push teenagers to develop a range of skills that are useful in the world of work. Okay, so we're introducing our idea. Time for the development. For example, taking an exam requires a student to plan, prepare, and perform in the test, thus developing time management capability, resiliency, and the ability to deliver under pressure. These skills are invaluable in a professional setting where it is essential to be able to organize the workload and meet deadlines. Okay, finally we have the link. The more exams that teenagers have in high school, the greater the opportunity to develop such skills. Right. Okay, now what we're going to do is look at the topic sentence, development, and link individually in a bit more detail. And we're going to start with the topic sentence. Now, the topic sentence is going to be different depending on how many ideas we have in our paragraph. Now, ideally, you're going to have either one or maybe two main ideas in that paragraph. You shouldn't really be writing 3, 4, or 5 ideas in just one paragraph. So, if we have one main idea in the paragraph, we can use this structure. One clear advantage or benefit or disadvantage of something is. So, one clear advantage of having regular exams at secondary school is that teenagers will have ample examination practice before going into higher education. We could also say, one major or significant advantage or drawback of something is. One of the main arguments in favor of or against something is. One of the main reasons for something is. One reason I agree or one reason I disagree with something is that, and then we elaborate. And then sometimes we also use on the one hand. So we say on the one hand, and then we introduce our ideas, and then in a future paragraph we'd say on the other hand, and introduce contrasting ideas. Now, our paragraph may also have two main ideas, in which case we want to communicate to the examiner that this paragraph has two main ideas. So we'll say something like this. There are two main reasons why, firstly, and then we introduce the first idea. And then after we've written the idea development and maybe a link for that idea, we're going to say secondly, and then elaborate on the second idea. We could say, there are two clear advantages or disadvantages of, firstly, and then later we can say secondly. Or, there are two clear solutions to, first of all, Right. Now, instead of having one clear advantage or disadvantage of something is, if we're introducing the second paragraph, we might want to say something like, another advantage is, or another major drawback of something is. Okay. And instead of saying on the one hand, we might have something like on the other hand to introduce the second paragraph. Another way that we often write our topic sentence is to use linking words. Now, when we're adding ideas, so when our second paragraph introduces another idea that is similar to the previous paragraph, we're going to use linking words like further, furthermore, additionally, in addition, or moreover. And when the examiner sees those linking words, then they'll immediately know that you're writing another reason which is similar to the previous paragraph's reason. However, you might also want to show the opposite point of view, in which case you're going to introduce a contrasting idea. In that case, use linking words like however, nevertheless, by contrast, or this is a very useful one. However, some people would argue that. So that can be very useful when you're saying, well, some people would argue that exams put too much pressure on teenagers. And then you might want to even rebuttal that idea and say, however, I don't agree with that idea, and here is why. Okay, after the topic sentence, we have the development. So you need to think to yourself, how are you going to develop your idea? Now, I recommend 3 different ways of developing your idea, by having a reason, a result, or an example, or even just a combination of all of these. So if you're going to introduce a reason, you can start your sentence with this is because, or the reason is, or one reason for this is. And so in this way, you're developing your idea by giving a reason. Similarly, you can give a result, like as a result or consequently. And then a very useful way to get a higher score in IELTS essays is to give an example. So you can say things like, for example, for instance, or such as. And we're going to look at some examples of developing our paragraphs later on in this lesson. Finally, let's look at links in a bit more detail. Now, there are useful structures that we can use when we write our linking sentence at the end of our paragraph. One of my favorites is this: the comparative advantage, comma, the comparative advantage, which I actually saw in an E2 YouTube video, and I'll put a link to that below this video. It's very useful. Okay, let's have a look at an example. The more exam practice that students have in high school, the more confident they will feel when it comes to performing in exams in further education. Okay, so we have the comparative advantage, comma, the comparative advantage. So the more exam practice, the more confident. I'll show you another example. The greater the number of guns, the more dangerous cities will become. The less time people have to spend commuting to work, the more time they will have for their own personal activities. Okay, another useful structure is to use the word hence at the beginning of your sentence. So hence is a bit like consequently or in consequence. Here's an example. Hence, exams at secondary school provide a foundation of experience which prepares teenagers for the tests they will encounter in further education. Hence, simply by preparing for exams at high school, teenagers are likely to develop valuable skills which can help them later in life. Okay, the final structure that we use when we're writing a link is by contrast. Okay, here's an example. By contrast, teenagers which have not had many exams in high school may feel overwhelmed by the frequency and difficulty of university exams. By contrast, teenagers which have not had many exams in high school may not have had the opportunity to develop these skills and could find it harder to deal with deadlines and pressure in the workplace. Okay, so my advice would be to practice all of these different linking structures in the IELTS essays that you write at home before you go to do your IELTS exam. Okay, let's write some paragraphs together. Take this question. Do the advantages of working from home outweigh the disadvantages? Okay, a very typical IELTS essay question. We're going to write the topic sentence, the development, and then finally the link. Okay, so I'm going to say that the advantages of working from home outweigh the disadvantages. Why? Well, okay, because you can save time commuting to work. You can just wake up, you can sleep in, wake up and go straight to work at your desk. You don't have to get on the bus or the metro or get in your car to get to work. So let's say that. One of the advantages of working from home is that people do not have to waste time traveling to their place of work. Let's go into the development. Especially in cities, commuting can be a considerable drain both physically and mentally as underslept workers pile onto crowded metros or wait in heavy traffic to get to work. In Beijing, for example, it is not unusual for workers to give themselves over an hour to commute relatively short distances simply because of the level of traffic congestion. Okay, so in our development, we explain our idea in a bit more detail, and then we give an example to support our idea. Finally, we have a link. Now let's use one of our linking structures. In this case, we're going to start with by contrast. By contrast, working from home gives people more personal time to dedicate to their hobbies, look after their family, or simply sleep longer hours. Okay, so we've got our topic sentence, development, and a link. Let's have a look at another example. In this case, I'm going to agree again that working from home has more advantages than disadvantages, and I'm going to say that that's because it's better for the environment. So I'm going to have a topic sentence like this. Working from home is also beneficial from an environmental perspective. Okay, now the development is going to answer the question, well, why? Why do you say that? Telecommuting, which is just working from home, has reduced our carbon emissions substantially by decreasing the need for business travel. In the past, business people would fly to different countries to attend meetings and make acquaintances with new partners. The increase in remote work has changed the status quo and made it more acceptable for these meetings to be held online. Now let's put in our link. The less we travel, the less carbon emissions we produce. Okay, let's have a look at a different essay question. What prevents individuals from choosing electric vehicles? So again, we're going to start with our topic sentence, but this time we're going to include two ideas in our paragraph. There are two reasons why drivers do not choose electric vehicles. The first reason is that they often have a particularly high price tag. So we're saying that electric vehicles are expensive. Here's a development. While it may be possible to find second-hand petrol vehicles at an affordable price, electric vehicles make use of recent innovations and technology, which results in them being much more expensive. For example, a low-range, fully electric Tesla will still cost around $30,000. The more expensive the vehicle, the less likely people are to choose it. Okay, so we've introduced the first idea in the paragraph, and you can see we even have a link there. And then afterwards, we're going to introduce the second idea of the paragraph. The second deterrent is that many drivers already feel comfortable with their existing driving practices. They understand how to fill up on petrol, and they know when and where to get their car serviced. By contrast, electric vehicles are less straightforward. Users might worry about how often they should be charging them, or when and where to get them serviced. Okay, so in this example, I've shown you how to put two ideas into one paragraph. Okay, let's finish off with a summary. First of all, start your paragraphs with a topic sentence to show the examiner what they will read about in that paragraph. So the topic sentence is introducing your idea. Next, make it clear whether your paragraph contains one idea or two, and do this with your topic sentence. Next, don't write too many ideas into one paragraph. Make sure that all of your ideas are developed. So remember, I said a good idea is to write one or two ideas per paragraph, but not more than that. A good way to develop your ideas is to describe a reason, result, or example which supports your idea. So when you're writing your development, look at how you can give a reason, a result, or an example to support that idea. Finally, we're going to finish your paragraph with a linking sentence. And for all of these, to prepare, you should learn some useful structures for topic sentences, for development, and for linking. Right, best of luck with writing your practice essays, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye then.